Okay, we are live.
Okay. All right, this is the meeting of the Community Engagement Committee. It's February 2nd. The time is now 7:06 p.m. And we'll start off with introductions.
Johnson, no, sure.
Amy Geddes, PTA President and Bill. Rebecca Sambalayo, Trustee and Parent.
David Warner, Trustee and Parent.
Sven Verga, former parent, still alive, but former parent of 3 former students.
Samantha Ives, parent of 2.
And online, we have Dr. Njoku.
Dr. Njoku, Assistant Superintendent.
You're muted.
Can you?
think she is. We
We can't hear you.
Okay, let's. Sorry.
That's all. Better?
Let's see audio.
Better?
Oh, wait, hold
Okay.
on. Speak now. Sorry about that.
Testing.
There you go.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
All right. Dr. Njoku, Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction.
Okay. Jackie?
Hi, I'm Jackie Burton. I oversee a portion of the communications for the district.
Good. Kelly?
Hi, my name is Kelly Johnson. I am a parent PTA president of Woodlands Middle High School.
Anybody I missed?
Okay, so I think it's Shonda and Tracy.
Oh, there's more people. Can you scroll across so I can see? Shonda?
Hi, everyone. Shonda Merrill, Assistant Superintendent for Business.
Tracy?
Try use that.
Sorry, I'm not clicking on right. Look out right here.
It looks like he's
There we go.
Sweepy Lipton.
Yeah.
Okay.
Space.
Yeah. Tracy? Well, she might be in her car. I don't know. So she's muted. Is that?
Yes, good evening. Izette Swavey Lipton, Vice President of R.J. Bailey's PTA and grandparent to a 6th grader.
Good. We're doing introductions. Samantha.
Hello. I couldn't figure out the camera, so I said, let me try that again. Hello, everyone. I'm Samantha Angeletta. I am in the English department at Woodlands Middle High School, and I am also one of the WISE co-coordinators this year.
Great. Anybody else? Anyone I missed? Okay, we're all here. So I'm glad you showed up because the first item on our agenda is focus on Woodlands individualized senior experience. We have the Woodlands. We have the two WISE coordinators this year. One of them is Samantha Angeletta, and the other one is Darren Greaves. I'm not sure if Darren was able to make it. So Samantha, why don't you start us off? Do you want us to look at your face, or should we have the agenda up?
I'll get talking. Leave the agenda up.
Okay, bring the agenda up. Sure. This one.
Can you read that?
No, but you could make it a little bigger.
Oh.
There we go. Okay. Okay, go ahead.
All right. So let's see. Can everyone hear me clearly?
I can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. So I already introduced myself. I'm Samantha Angeletta. So on behalf of myself and Mr. Greaves. We wanted to just introduce ourselves. I have been with WISE now. This is my 3rd year. I started as co-coordinator with Dr. Fritz, and then he passed the baton to me, and I did it solo last year. And then I grabbed Mr. Greaves and told him that I think he would be a great fit for the program. He wears many different hats, so I think he brings a lot into not only the program, but a lot into our district. If you have not heard his name, you probably will soon. He is involved with many extracurricular activities, as I have been as well. And so I was really excited to be able to take part in something that I know I can also watch the kids grow and follow some of their passions outside of my usual lane, which is more like sports or clubs. So this is something super important, and I have loved being part of the team these past few years. This year at WISE, we are trying, I think that one of our main goals is to try and grow the program back to a capacity near what it used to be. There's many personal ventures that the students will take, and in doing so, we have to evolve and adjust. And I think that's a very big, I don't want to say it's been a little difficult, I'm not going to lie, just because we have so many different things that are now brought into curriculum, such as like our IB program. And if you're a DP student, you aren't able to drop an English course because you have to stay in the DP program. So a lot of students are now looking at it as a little bit of almost like a double whammy coming workload wise. But we really are trying to hone in on all of our students and get a bigger group of WISE students back into Woodlands, especially because this is the home of the WISE program. This is where WISE started. So we're really trying to get everyone to hone in on their personal ventures. We use some of the IB outlets that students already have, such as their personal projects. We grab from there. And we're like, if that's something you were passionate about, you can go back and you could, stem your project from there. But we really want to see them research their curiosities and their passions and grow both in and out of the classroom. And it's been a really cool experience to watch from a teacher's perspective, because it's one thing to watch students, grow and go through your classrooms and then, pass all their exams and walk across the stage. But it's totally different to see them in a light where they're talking to you and teaching you about a passion or a project. So it's really been cool. But we're really looking forward to the WISE kickoff this Friday. And we're just focusing on building from what's working. We're going to try and introduce some new opportunities, and we want to just continue to grow the program so that it reaches even more students and has an even bigger impact on the community. So we're trying to get it back to a capacity in some type of capacity, what it used to be, and really try and grow the program.
Could you tell us in a couple of sentences, because some people will be new to WISE, what is the WISE program about?
It is an individualized senior experience. So midway through senior year, our seniors have an opportunity to enter the WISE program. They will drop their English class, their social studies class, which is this year, they take half a year of economics, and then they'll drop participation in government. And then they'll also drop their physical education class. But it doesn't mean that they are not taking those classes per se, because the WISE program entails all of those skills that they've learning. And they also have to, for example, like an annotated bibliography, that is something skill-based towards an English class and research, PIG assignments that they have throughout the WISE program, depending on their project and things that they come across. So they still have all those things, and they have to meet a certain amount of PE hours as well, independently. But that's what makes it an individualized experience. We have some students taking on things like putting together a talent show, or last year our model presentation was looking into the field of both law enforcement and investigative studies. So it's really any type of passion or curiosity that a student may have that they might be interested in. Some students have taken on things in the nursing field and realized that that wasn't what they wanted to actually study in college. They thought they had. So there's so many different opportunities that students can have. And if you see the list up on the board this year, I'm really excited to see a lot of these come into play, and our kids have a lot of ideas. But as you can see, we also don't have that many kids this year, so we really are trying to figure out how we can get all of our students back in the know of WISE, as well as their parents and the community.
Miss Angeletta, somebody had a question about what does DP mean? You were explaining that.
Oh, IBDP. So there's MYP, which is the middle years program, and then that's 7 through 10 at our school, and then the DP program is for the diploma program, which is 11th and 12th grade.
Miss Angeletta, I have a quick question.
Sure.
I see the ideas that you have, but you said that's the reason that you feel like most of the students don't participate. Is it because of the fact that they're getting a diploma program, so they can't do both?
It's not that they can't do both. I think that a lot of students are overwhelmed when they were given, all of their schedule ahead of time for IB, and then they choose to go into the WISE program. They have to get all their paperwork in the fall. So it's not like they're going into senior year saying, I am doing WISE. We do have junior meetings with them, but that's also something we want to try and figure out with guidance. Like, can it almost be like where our students sign up and they know they're going to BOCES for whatever section of the day, AM or PM? Can they say going into senior year, I am definitely doing the WISE program? That way we can have their schedule set, and that way we can have the know of, okay, these students are doing WISE, but they also are in the DP program. So we need to make sure we cater to their needs. Because again, it is a lot more work, but a lot of them have an overlap because a lot of our IB like skill sets and all of our skills in WISE cover a little bit of the same thing. So you can kind of overlap them, but it does, you do have to do individually different work too. So it's overwhelming for a senior that has to take all their IB exams and then also put together their content for WISE. So it's overwhelming, but we're really trying to find a way to make it work. And our students that have successfully done it are proof of that. It just is going to take some time.
Ms. Swavey Lipton?
Yes, thank you. And I had to sign off and sign back in. So Samantha, you may have answered this question already. How many students are currently enrolled in WISE?
The list on the project board is our current total list for this year. So we've dropped probably half as much, like 50% from last year. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
11 students. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so you don't know why it has dropped off, because it seems like it isn't as popular now as it had been in past years. Is that what I'm understanding?
I think it is. And I think that sometimes, like I said, sometimes I feel like it'll be discouragement. And I know that sounds like unfortunate, like that kids are getting discouraged away from it, but sometimes like, no, that's going to be a lot of work for you. I don't know if you could do that independently. I don't know if you have like the organization skills, rather than flipping it with like a positive kind of like a spin on it, saying like, you know what, you could do this. It is a lot of work, but I have faith. And as long as you're with your mentor and you're there along the way and you're meeting when you're supposed to be meeting and you're doing all the work and you organize yourself, you'll do great at it. So like putting that positive spin on it is really important. Then IB, I think, is another one. And I just think the community isn't as aware of it, because I don't know if we're as out there as much, and that's what me and my other co-coordinator are trying to figure out, like how can we get back into the community. Like we're trying to rally some ideas to get back. We want to bring the journal readings back like more full force, where not as many people will come in after hours as much anymore, where it used to be like, oh, a WISE event's happening, we're there, we're going. So we're going to try and bring back some things. We want to try and bring in some new things. Myself Miss Huber, who is the secretary, and she is our constant in the WISE program. She was also a WISE student when she was at Woodlands. We all met with Mr. Smith last year, and he even said, like, what about an exhibition? And so we're kind of running with that idea, maybe trying to eventually be able to put on a WISE expedition at the end of the year. We have a lot of different ideas, but it could be just our kids, or it could be kids from other schools as well who are doing WISE, and we can have them all come in and do their projects and show us what they were able to do in the last 4 months of school.
So WISE is a program that other schools are able to participate in?
Yeah, so WISE originated at Woodlands, but it has started in other schools. And honestly, at every school, it looks very different. So depending on the school that you're at, some kids, I believe, I want to say Eastchester, I think that they have the WISE program for the 4th marking period, and all seniors like go ahead and do it.
Right. And so it's a half of the senior year.
Amy.
Yeah, hi. So I was an evaluator on 3 WISE presentations last year. And my recollection was that not one student put in, because they logged their hours, not one of them did the required minimum. They were unable to fill out completely the form with the number of hours they were supposed to do. And one student, it was actually sort of understandable. He did the trip with Dr. Frick or something. He went to South Africa, so he was very busy. I mean, it was clear that he was very busy, and his presentation was not on the trip, but he had to talk about it because he ended up missing a lot on his essentially journal entries because of it. And I mean, that was fascinating as part of the presentation. And I enjoyed that part as an evaluator. But I mean, I can see that one of the big problems with the WISE program is the amount of time that the students need to put into completing all the work that's required for it. Because as I said, not one of the students was able to complete it as is outlined now. So,
sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying that as an observation, and that you know, when not one of them is able to do it, and still the presentations themselves were interesting. It's just that you know, clearly it takes up a lot of time.
It does.
And
as well as remember, they have 3 classes that they're no longer taking. So that's why the time management piece comes in a lot. And I was actually with that student in South Africa, and every day I would tell him, we're on a bus, take 10 minutes, write a journal, take 10 minutes, write a journal. And he chose not to. But I had another student that I was away with, and she journaled every day. And it was part of her, it was also, I mean, she also did a journalism project, but she made that part of her WISE project, and she put together a journal. So it's really just about finding the time. But I think that's another piece that goes into it. A lot of students today are not very well versed in time management. So we have to figure out a way that we can get them there. Kids don't walk around school with an agenda and write down their homework anymore. They don't, like, there's different tactics. They depend on notifications to remind them to do. And like, we try and tell them that, like, okay, set an alarm and write your journal. Or if it's PE, it's the logging that they don't remember doing. That's why a lot of them came off as they had to backtrack and so much. And Miss Huber has this awesome software in the system that they could log everything, but a lot of them just forget. A lot of them had to go back and hand count all their journals when there's literally a button that processes each journal entry. So it's really about figuring out the best way to get them set up. But with so many other things happening, like for example, this year, we were supposed to have 3 pre-WISE workshops before the kickoff. We've only had 1 because it happened to between the days that the break had fallen, and then when we got back, we didn't want to take away from Regents and midterms week, so then we didn't see them for almost 2 weeks there. So it's a lot of like it's organization on both ends, both the coordinators, I think, and also the students. We need to figure out a way to get them back on that track.
Tracy.
I totally
So
agree.
what?
I agree with you that a lot of their journals weren't up to par as they should have been. And I think they realize that it's not always about quantity, it's about quality.
So I heard you say earlier that, everyone has to get like better information about WISE and encouraging the students. And I would agree with that. It's the first time that I've heard that you can do DPIB, diploma program, the full program, meaning not just one or two classes, but the full load of classes from 11th and 12th grade, that you could do that and WISE. Never heard that before. I do think that would be a little overwhelming for most, if not all students, but maybe it's possible. But I had never heard that before. So I do think that the students need that information. And then, the parents and the community. I don't know if all the teachers know that information, that you can do both.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's a little bit on our end. We need to make sure that gets out there, because even I think all the IB exams are mostly in May. So that's a whole chunk of time where if you're in the DP program, you're preparing and getting all of those IB exams done. But that's a month of WISE that's preparing you to your end goal. So that's the biggest challenge that I've seen with kids that are in the DP program, and not just finding that balance, because again, it is a lot. But again, I always think that it comes back to Woodlands is the WISE program to be an individualized senior experience. If you ask a student who then goes on to college what they had to do to make sure that they were on task, a lot of our WISE students, like, it did help me to have that quote unquote like free time, and figure out that it actually wasn't free time. I had to figure out what worked for me and when that happened. But I do think that our DP program, not a lot of people are aware that that you're able to take WISE. So I think that's something we need to get out there. But again, it is something that sometimes gets discouraged. So we need to figure out how to kind of allow them to coexist.
My understanding, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just asking Ms. Angeletto, from my understanding, in terms of recruitment, that starts not in the senior year, correct? That starts in junior year?
There is a meeting during junior year, and like an interest meeting to show, and then we write down kids' names. And if they are interested, we give that list to guidance, and in hopes that they schedule the students so that if they do choose to go into WISE, their second half of the day would be free for WISE, because we have WISE workshops every week, 7th and 8th period, that they need to attend once a week on Wednesdays. And that's when the second half of their day, they can go to their internships or their shadowing opportunities. So scheduling is a very big piece of it. And we've been trying to sit down and figure out because when kids go to sign up for their classes, if they can choose junior year that they are, then that gives more flexibility. But I know scheduling has been a very, very big item.
So that's what I was kind of, in terms of addressing. I did have an opportunity to meet with Ms. Huber last week to learn more, to understand, and was notified of the 11 students. And that was part of the question, like in terms of the recruitment process. Let's take a look at, when do we start it? How do we communicate it so that both the students and parents know what the expectations are and what the load will be? So preparing them in advance around the opportunities, and kind of setting their minds for that. And especially because in their sophomore year, they should have completed the MYP personal project. So it's a great, springboard from a personal project to your WISE individualized. And that even includes some special education students, because it's not an independent study, it's an individualized program.
I'm sorry. I don't know how WISE works, because my
children didn't do WISE, meaning firsthand, but back to the diploma program, the diploma program has a set level of classes you must take. So you would never be able to have all afternoon in a shadowing or seminar, or like how would that
Right.
work?
So my mindset was not focusing, like my understanding was not the target group being the DP students. In my mindset around it was that if it was allowable, because the DP students, what I understand, and I'll learn more, is that they have to, this covers 3 courses. So the way they do the schedule is, and I'm sorry, Miss Angeletto, do you want to speak in my, okay.
You're fine. You're doing great.
I'm doing great. So just this is my test. So my understanding is that there are 3 courses that it takes the place of. So which are requirements for high school graduation: English, physical education, and participation in government. The English course, the two the courses outside of English, PE and participation in government, um, for the DP students, that's what this would cover. Whereas English, the DP, they would have to coordinate the schedules from the beginning of the year for this to fit for DP, which is why DP really, in my opinion, should not be the primary targeted audience. It would be individuals who have interest in individualizing their learning to have an experience. That's my understanding. And even in speaking with Ms. Huber, it's inclusive of our special education students or English language learners, because it's not independent, but I'm not sure um, how much our young people or parents understand what it is in order to plan for it.
I also want to back on that as well, because that's the major, that free, quote unquote, free time is the big issue with the DP, which is why I think you're saying that it's not the target audience, because they have to do that outside of school hours. But I also think they have to work on things like their CAS projects outside of school hours, which for example, there's one student who did a beautiful mural in the commons on the wall for her IB art project this year. That in retrospect could be a WISE project. Like we have a student doing pieces of me, an art portfolio, and she's trying to figure out if she wants to do like words of affirmation, or how she wants to show the community how to be more in touch with their emotions. And then we have another one with an art portfolio, and that wall that a student had done, a senior this year, if you go in, it's all different. You can gather all different, it's a beautiful mural. But and then if you go into the WISE room, you could look at a mural from a student of a WISE alumni, and they did an interpretation of an art project. So that's why I'm saying, like, it can possibly coexist, but there's separate work that needs to be done in order to meet both criteria. So it is a lot of work for a DP student, but we have seen certain students do it. It is just, it's a task for sure.
Can I step just sort of put my thoughts in for a second? So as an alumni from Woodlands, I remember doing WISE a long time ago, very long, way before we had IB or anything like that. And one of the selling points, because at that point everyone did WISE, was that it was almost like a welcome relief from your everyday program. Like after senior year, you're done with putting in all your applications and everything like that. It's like a welcome relief to be able to step in and take on a internship, so to speak, right? At a place that you've always had an interest in, and you kind of mirror someone. And the journal wasn't really an issue, because it was almost like you were fine with doing a journal and a presentation because you were actually doing an activity and mirroring something. And it was just a nice change from being in your regular workspace as far as school is concerned. You're not like doing essays and papers. With that said, I can also see with how now that we do have IB and the people that have the diploma program, how that was the selling point back in the day, was like, oh, we get a welcome relief our senior year when you're already going through a little senioritis anyway, where you could kind of take a break from reality to do something else. I could see how a student who has a DP program choosing to want to take on an additional thing would be a hard sell, especially when you're at that point almost burnt out when it comes to school. You're kind of tired of, you're just finished, you're finding out what schools you're going into, you're trying to just finish up and you're pretty much done. So having to add on to that might be a hard sell. So I don't know if there's a way you could kind of, I don't know, make it where it be somewhat of a relief for IB programs as well, IB program students as well. My son is not at that point yet, so I don't really know how the schedule really looks, but that's just my 2 cents from, I remember even way back when that was always like the selling point. So if there's a way you could kind of sell that, where instead of having to do your typical workload, here's how this will look better. Like, this is what makes it better. This would make your senior experience that much more meaningful beyond just like, we're gonna have to take on extra work. Because I don't think many seniors are gonna want to take on extra work spring semester.
No, I
And if I
completely agree. And I think that's in our last task force meeting, Mr. Warner. I don't know if you remember exactly what was said, but I remember us saying that we need to evolve WISE to be able to fit now our student body, because there was something that used to be, but that's not anymore. Times have changed, so we need to figure out how we can meet all of our student body depending on who is interested. But I think for right now, while those wheels are turning in the background, we need to, like, my co-coordinator, I really want to try and get the other population that's not DP to really know about the WISE program, make that decision to try it out. So I think that's why one of our biggest goals is what's working, how could we latch onto that, and then still grow in the background as well.
I think that in my experience, if there's a requirement for whatever that English class is to be part of the IBDP program, then you'd end up having that on top of having WISE. And it depends on the kind of project that you choose. If it's an internship and the hours are not flexible such that you need to clear off an afternoon, that might be problematic. But if it's a research project, which you go off and do, and the hours are flexible, then there shouldn't be a conflict. So yes, there's a bit more stress, but depending on your kind of project or what kind of project you want, it might or might not work. And then here, could you bring up there's a file called For Wise People. It's the first upper left-hand corner there. Correct. So you have to right. Okay, so here are 4 examples of WISE projects. So first one, Joe Nguyen. He was an internship to Major League Gaming. He went a couple of times, a few times a week in the afternoon. He processed. Okay. He processed the payroll and won a rap battle with his. You're right. This kid was an online gaming prodigy. He was into competitive gaming, and so he came with his own internship and said, "We're going to take the train to New York City." We paid the train fare, and then he did marketing research. They flew him to Cleveland to do a setup for a match. Where you have a whole bunch of teams of kids getting together and fighting. He happened to have worked on the website for Major League Gaming, and as a result, he was able to win the Dr. Pepper 1 in a Million contest, which was advertising for Dr. Pepper, and his prize was to go to the Coachella Music Festival. Okay, so he got that. He got the backstage passes, all that sort of stuff. So you see, there is laying on top of his friends up in the upper right hand. There's Halo. He tested out a pre-release version of Halo and gave his feedback. Next slide. There's one of the meets that he created, right? You have a studio audience, you have all the setup for all the cables and the themes, and there's this Dr. Pepper photograph, and there he is taking a picture from this up on the stage at Coachella. Next slide. You got Jamil Saunders, who's a Greenburgh police officer today. He did principles of camouflage. He created a ghillie suit. That is a camouflage suit. You see right there, it's standing there with it laid out on the pavement, so you could, hide. He went to West Point and checked that out. He checked out the SWAT team. For Greenburgh, there's next page. Right, he did a bunch of lecture. He for his final presentation, he went out in the woods and cut a trail. You've seen a successor project that is the fitness trail out here, and used principles of camouflage and taught them to other students, and that helped him in his career and going off and becoming a police officer eventually. Next slide. All right, Ricardo Rodriguez. Activities. He researched the history of music, and he got people together. And at the time, we had people who were good with music, and we had music labs, and he created songs. And so, his final presentation was a music recording called "No Limits." And he also was somebody who wasn't. He was used to be an English language learner. And so he was having real difficulty getting through English, and through writing the journal, he got more and more fluent at writing, and he used the material in WISE to write his term paper for his English class, and he got through it that way. Next slide. Okay, there's Jonathan Lewis, who helped him with there's one of his vocal talents, and there's a song, but I don't think it's linked up. Next slide. Michelle Sanchez, a very good student, wanted to end up with a cooking and baking internship. So she went to Harper's Restaurant, which was co-owned by a former WISE alumni, and so she figured out how to get to Dobbs Ferry in the afternoons, and she went to the Cake Boss cupcake seminar and made a variety of different different pastries. And so between the internship and the stuff she made, she had a kind of a portfolio, and she was accepted to Johnson & Wales Institute of Culinary Education. Next slide. There's a chess that she made a chess set. There's the Cake Boss. And she liked horror. So you saw strange. She loved chocolate and horror. Okay, so there were these sort of themes there. There are people playing chess with one for cakes. Next. Okay, so that's a variety of, this is how it used to be. Okay, people would do these various projects, and some of them required you to have a schedule and go to an internship, and so it did not. So the guy who did No Limits was, and Joe, the Major League Gaming guy, the guy from No Limits could make his own schedule in terms of what he had to do. He had a lot for him of stress, but we used the WISE material that he was studying for his other classes. So he was able to get past it. So it all depends on the individual case.
If I could just add a few cents, because I'm also a WISE alumni way before Kelly was.
Yeah.
So Vic Leviathan was like one of the people with me. Back then, WISE was also implemented because they wanted to improve graduation rates and also push students towards careers. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's maybe something that could be attractive to parents, saying this is something that your child is interested in. What's a project that they could do? My project first started working with C9 folks. That wanted to work out. I switched and I did an internship at Blythedale. We did with bus, but I would say half of our graduated class back then would do WISE. And almost all of them were towards career of like health hygiene, dental hygienist, PT, speech. I didn't end up in PT, obviously. I'm trying to think other things that people did. So I'm just to the effort of increasing the awareness and the desire for students and parents to be more invested in this, because I know that Saffron, my kid, did WISE 2 years ago. I can't imagine how it would be possible to do DP and WISE again. These students are struggling because of age of their time management, and then having to then put all that together and work. I mean, they wouldn't sleep, don't sleep anyway when they're on DP. But that aside, let's say we have like extraordinary students who can do DP and can do WISE. Like, how are we increasing the numbers? Because coming from, 40 years ago where it was half the, you had 80 people, 80 people do,
Larger than 40, yeah.
so you had like 80 people doing WISE, and those rooms were filled when there was a presentation to almost nobody going to presentations and 11 students. I'm just wondering how this can be fostered starting, I don't know, RJ Bailey or Highviews talking about this. These are the offerings we have for students as well as IB, because IB is pushed across all schools. And I'm wondering, well, how can we also tell the parents this is something else that's available to students? If IB and DP is not in the cards, they can still take a class or two, but they can still do WISE. And I think that the idea of like, this is something that your child can explore that might lead to a career path or something that they're interested in as a career. And they can decide whether or not they don't. I mean, Matt Beck wrote a song and entered and now he's a backup player for Maroon 5. Not Maroon 5, the other, I forget the other one. So that's just something that could be attractive to parents.
Rebecca,
Oh, yes.
I was gonna say, I think you might have just hit a point that maybe we should look at. Maybe we need I mean, this is just a thought, and I don't even know how it would play out, but if they have to do an MYP project at the sophomore year, right? And if they have to do something like that, maybe, and passion projects tend to be something that looks very good for college resumes, right? So it almost coincides a little bit with WISE. Like, does WISE have to naturally be, like, does it have to be senior experience? Can you maybe reinvent WISE so it can work for all students? Maybe have internships where it goes with their MYP program, or it could be something where it sort of encourages more of a passion project of some sort that actually will look good on a college resume when it comes to senior year. So maybe it's something that could happen. I don't know, even the internship could maybe even happen throughout the summer or something like that. I'm just thinking off kilter, but I'm like, maybe if why, like does WISE really have to be senior year per se? Like, can it be something you maybe introduce even beforehand, since you have to have an MYP project anyway, which seems because it seems kind of like a passion project of some sort. So maybe it's just a thought.
Right. Is it possible, have you taken a survey of students to see what it is that may be stopping them? Or have we surveyed the students?
Samantha.
We have not surveyed the students in terms of why they're not taking it. We just surveyed them in terms of their interests, and then we set up like interviews, and they'll have an open interview with myself, Miss Huber, or my other co-coordinator, and we essentially say, what is stopping you from WISE, or what are you worried about? Like, it's more of like an open dialogue kind of thing. But I also think that a point that was made was internships and transportation. A large amount of our students do not drive, nor do they. The first question, we had a student who wanted to go into the city, and they said, I can't, the train tickets are way too expensive. So we're trying to figure out ways that WISE can now support our students in doing that like they once did. But with inflation, that's a pretty penny to send a kid on a train or a bus because of how much it costs now. So we're trying to find out ways to get them out there locally. We used to have a bus when we owned the bus company that would take them to the bus stop, the local bus stop, or I think close to the train station, so that they didn't have to walk there to get there. It would drop them off from point A, and then they would venture out to wherever they had to go. So I think that's a whole nother component that comes into play, is the financial barrier.
Okay. This is a dialogue that could go on, and but I can see that it's about 10 till 8. So could you tell us a little bit about the kickoff event, and are there ways we could participate?
Well, I was just going to say that since the dialogue can go on, if you are interested, whether it be you can tell myself or Mr. Warner, and we could include you in the next email to the task force. We always love people coming to the task force meetings. We love all the ideas and conversations that we have. The more the merrier, for sure. So task force is always open to anyone that would like to join. We always want more people joining our task force meetings.
I would love to join.
Yeah,
I would love to join.
I'm gonna write down.
You said. Okay, anybody else?
These are held when? Are they during the day?
So this year, because of scheduling purposes, both myself and Mr. Greaves, we work. I work in all of middle school this year, so it's not easy for me to have coverage. So we're doing it after school, once a month, from 2:45 to 3:45.
Okay.
Is there a virtual option in the event is there a virtual option to join?
We actually just spoke about that the last meeting, that we would be open to making it virtual so that we can probably have more people attending and more voices.
And for those who provided those ideas, I have written a couple of them down just in terms of the why, having people understand the why of whys, and just revisiting that. Do we agree with that? You know, is that where we're going? Because I was aware that it went from 80 students to 40 students to 20. So what is happening? And there are students, a large amount of students outside of our DP students that could potentially benefit from this. And I want to just emphasize again, we saw from Trustee Warner's examples of English language learners, and then we have special education students also. So I just making sure that it's also seen as inclusive. And someone mentioned Passion Project, and that's a great way to frame it as well. Yeah, so these ideas are good.
So you only have 20% of any graduating class as DP students, and that's on the high end, right? So you have that other 80% of students that can be scheduled. I heard someone say everyone did it, back in the day. So is it something that you could essentially unspoken expectation that everybody's going to be doing all that other 80%? They may have one or two IB classes, but they're not a diploma program student, right? So they have some more flexibility than the diploma program students. Can there be an unspoken expectation that other 80% will be trying a WISE project? And link it, as Trustee Sepalayo said, to career focus. When you leave here, you don't have to go to college, but you gotta get a job, or you don't have to get a job, you have to go to college, whatever it is. And what is this field that you want to work in? And let's do an internship. And then how do we get the WISE mentors and advisors? Are we reaching out? A lot of people watch town board meetings or go to town hall for any particular thing. We can have flyers posted. Are we reaching out to do any of that? Because there's lots of alum that live in the area that had WISE, that had a positive experience, that may be willing to be either an advisor or a mentor. I'm not sure the proper term is used for the person, but
yes, a WISE mentor.
Yeah.
Okay. then there's a placement, right? So, yes.
Yeah, but you could get a pool of, if people don't know that we're still doing WISE,
Well,
if they.
the WISE kickoff event
Mhm.
is a mixer in which people who are potential information sources or contacts
Mhm.
or are, or have some level of expertise in any of these things, of these, right? They make contact with other people. And so the purpose of the WISE kickoff event, or at least the way that it's currently structured, is to connect the community with the WISE students. Where did it's actually okay. It's actually invite us to the kickoff.
Yes, no, all are welcome to the kickoff as well. Miss Huber had sent out invitations already, but essentially, where we have the students also, it's almost like a little conversation ticket, and there's 3 spaces. So we're trying to get the kids to not only start developing the dialogue of being able to make their own connections, but it's a way to get them to talk. A lot of kids are very shy and less spoken to, will kind of be on the more of an observer. And the sheet of paper that we have now for our mixer is they get an individual's information, and then it helps with outreach. So they'll have their email, their best contact, they'll write down notes. And sometimes last year, it actually helped one of our students be able to connect with someone that would be able to help them with their project. So in hopes, if the kickoff starts to get bigger, then that could be an easy way for kids to have a link to get to an internship. But we're also, which is why the task force is super important, we're starting up committees again. So we're going to try and gather as many people at the task force meeting to target different things that we want to see grow. So for example, an internship committee, like by the time we meet next month, like let's try and see how many people we can gather that would like or be interested to work with our students. And then the students will then contact those individuals. So we know that the connection is there behind the scenes, but the kids actually have to do the work to get the connection and solidify their position, whether it's an internship or shadowing or just a conversation.
So you'd like us to come?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
15 to 2.
Okay, so now, what time is it? When is it? Where is it?
Friday, WISE room 134. It is from 12:15 to 2:15.
Great. Now, you sent me a bunch of pictures. I think before we move on to the next agenda item, just run through the pictures and we'll try and okay.
Yeah, some of those are pictures of our oh that's actually a yearbook photo, but still a group of kids. So Adam was in the academic challenge club. He ended up going into the WISE program and doing an internship with he couldn't get an internship with the New York Yankees, but he ended up being able to connect and talk to people within the field, and he basically studied like the entire Yankees history, and even did a section with like the big competition with the Red Sox and like the rivalry.
Okay.
And he had a great connection to fencing with Miss Weir, and like Miss Weir was a huge part of it. This was Mia. I did one of my coworkers, Miss Mercado, when she was out on her pregnancy leave. I took over for newspaper and passages in her absence. And we have Michaela Webb in the front and Jada. Both of those 2 students took on WISE in following years. Jada went into journalism. She completed her WISE project last year. Michaela also went into WISE. She did not pursue journalism. However, she did it was more like a little cafe production, and she did music, and she was LinkedIn, and she was also a DP student.
Next.
That is the library trip that they do each year. A lot of our students don't know what our public library has to offer. So we start our WISE journey with a trip to the library, and they get to not only get a library card if they do not have one, but they have to actually, they get to see what the library has to offer and how important it is for a research outlet, especially if they just want to escape the building. Our own librarian also comes on the trip, so that's another connection that they make. She has also been an extremely great mentor for some of our past WISE students. And she's actually going to be doing a workshop with us this week before WISE actually kicks off. She's going to do a little pre-WISE workout and just reiterate all the things that kids need to know about things like annotated bibliography, scholarly sources, all that fun stuff.
Next.
That's just another picture of the library. And we actually, in that picture, that was all the yearbooks. And we used to send one to the library, which I didn't know about. And now that I'm the yearbook advisor, that's another goal of mine. And they have like archives of different books and stuff from people within communities.
So where are our yearbooks if they don't go to the library?
We haven't put one in the archives at the Greenburgh Library. And I went on that trip. That was now, I said, did you guys ask for them, or were they just given to you? And they were like, they would just donate a book and we would put it in the archive. And I was like, we have our own archives at Woodland ourselves, but I didn't know that Greenburgh even got one. That was never brought to me. So I was like, we could give you guys one. That's awesome.
Interesting. Next.
Just another picture of the library. That was where we just gathered and discussed everything. That is a student doing what you should be doing at the library, and we were so happy. So I documented it.
What is that, Michael Jackson?
Yeah. We have Dr. Fritz. This is when I first started. So Dr. Fritz had Lucid Motors came in, and they showed us one of their cars. And actually, one of the kids who came in was, well, he's an adult now, but he was a kid, and he had Dr. Fritz, and he was a Woodlands alumni as well. And he worked with Tesla and Lucid Motors and gave the kids a whole big conversation about that entire entity. And the kids obviously love to see what all those cars have to offer and all the fun facts about them.
Okay. Next.
Yep, that all counts as a work. So this was a workshop. So they had someone speak to them, tell them all this information, and then they had a car outside that the kids can go see and figure out. Mr. Tokarski has opened an alumni Q&A type conversation. He actually just emailed me that he's gathering a lot more alumni this year. And it's like a panel, and he goes through, and it's like, where are you? What did you do? What's advice to you? And he has now teamed up with us. So we make sure that our WISE kids are also present for that panel, and they get to ask questions and see, and it counts as a workshop for them as well.
Okay, there are a couple of photographs way down towards the end. They say WISE on them, like WISE 1. Yeah. Okay, that's a duplicate. Next.
The duplicate.
Next.
I may have sent you duplicates. I copied the whole album, so it might have had duplicates. So some of them.
The last one right there, the circle.
That is a WISE overview from years ago, and Miss Huber said that we need to definitely upgrade it, but it gives all the main points that we still do and are still super important within the WISE program. And all of those projects. We are actually trying to get a field trip in motion for the spring and bring back a big field trip. We were told that WISE used to have like a half a day field trip from like 5 a.m. to halfway through the day, and they used to see all of what goes on. And it used to start in Brooklyn. I don't know, Mr. Warner, if you know the specifics behind it, but we want to be able to give the kids a trip that can really give them that full experience. So we're working on figuring out what we want to do with them this year.
Yeah, there was a photography expedition there. There's something to see every minute in New York, and so people would go and take pictures, and that was a field trip. All right. Thank you very much. Does anybody have any other questions?
I have a
Thank you, Ms.
question. actually.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I couldn't find the hand here to raise my hand. So, my question is, why do we not try to have the students do internships internally in the school district? So last year I was at a district that had a WISE program, and I had an intern in the business office. I did notice on your list of projects, somebody did say explore finance. So I'm not really sure why we're not doing it internally, but if it's allowed, I would be more than happy to take on somebody in the business office.
Oh, it definitely is. Definitely is. We've had, I was not, I was a wise, I partially took over when I first started working at Woodlands. I partially took over for a mentor halfway through the year. And, the student was actually in-house, was shadowing one of our custodial staff members and was seeing what goes into the organization behind getting shipments from the dock to where they belong, and organizing all of those things. So I've seen it before. I know that people have worked with our phys ed department a little bit because of the health piece. I know that Mr. Parker has taken on kids for things like, in terms of if it had to do anything with like physical, like weightlifting and things like that. So it definitely is, and we would love that, all those connections to definitely be had. We do use a lot of like extracurriculars. Like I know our Life of a Dancer. I know that our student has a connection because she's a falconette. She also is with Miss Luonga and the Falconettes. So they have an outside party who comes in and is with the girls from a middle school all the way up into high school. So that's like an in-house connection that I know is being made. But we would love all of that for sure.
I was
Easier
thinking
for the
like
kids.
technology department, and like you had said, custodial, so facilities. Like I'm sure that there are different departments internally where we could have internships, and that would make the transportation piece a little bit easier. That was it.
That's beautiful. Thank you. All right. Anybody else? Moving on. Thank you, Miss Angeletta.
You're welcome. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night. And we come to Dr. Njoku, Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, who has some teaching and learning updates for us.
I do. But this also brought a lot of thinking. So thank you for bringing the WISE program to the forefront and hearing the history also from members of the community, their experience. So that is very helpful, and bringing it in and thinking about bringing it into the context of now, where it's on par with the rigor that we've had in the past. So in terms of New York State updates, there's a couple of things that just I would like to communicate to this particular committee, although the Education Committee is aware of it. One of which is, you might have heard of New York State Inspires, where there are certain transformations that the state is moving towards. I will share with you, the board, including, which is inclusive of you, Trustee Warner, so that if you want to share with the rest of the members of this committee, the more recent video that our commissioner has set out. So the New York State Inspires, there's 4 transformations that have been put forth that many districts have been working on. One you've probably heard around Portrait or Graduate. What is it? But with that, there's also around redefining credits and learning experiences, sunsetting of diploma assessments, and creating one diploma. So the reason I say this is because our current 10th graders are going to be the first group to have just that one diploma. So we have to we're thinking about it now, just socializing everyone to know that these are things that we are considering. And we don't have full information yet. We're going to get some more information. It trickles in based on the the initiatives that are rolling out. The portrait of the graduate right now is at the forefront. We have the most information around that, which school districts have been working on. Some have been working on for years. Others are working on now that we have even more information. But then also with redefining credits and learning experiences, we have the opportunity to take on New York State seals and endorsements. We know we have two of them. We have the Seal of Civic Readiness and we have the Seal of Biliteracy, but we also have the opportunity to create as a district our own seals, and we're looking into that as well as we consider the different experiences and acknowledgement of that as students graduate. And then there is also, with this New York State Inspires, there's an expectation next year, a very explicit expectation. Again, districts might have been doing it, and we have as well in various degrees, but now there's a requirement by starting next year that we have a personal finance component in certain middle school grade bands 5 to 8, showing that certain topics are covered from 5 to 8 within that grade band at some point in that grade band. And then again, within the grade band of 9 to 12, at some point, the similar topics being communicated to students beginning next year. And then the following year, K4 around personal finance. And then there's so personal finance education, either being a standalone or embedded, just being very explicit that it's either embedded in what we're doing or it's an explicit course. And then moving on, there's another course for climate education, again, being either embedded. That's not happening until 27, 28, but just knowing that we have been having conversations as a region, what people are doing and how we ourselves already are fulfilling this and how we can make it explicit. But just letting people know as they might see some more talk about it as we are preparing for the new year.
So I'm gonna,
Go ahead, Tracy.
sorry. I'm gonna ask you to go back a little bit because through community engagement, you're not always talking to people that know all the lingo or the history. So
Okay.
a couple of things. We talked about the change in the diploma to one diploma to a non-board member that might sound a little confusing. Like don't we have one diploma? So
Right.
people know what those transitions mean. I don't know if you want to go that deep to explain it.
Like a CDOS conventional
What CDOS is still there, but what you should just know is that right now there's more than one type of diploma with different distinctions. So you might have a Regents diploma with distinction. You might have a local diploma. There's all these different types of diploma with different expectations and requirements. The state is wrapping it up into just one diploma. And then those diplomas can have designations alongside it with the seals and endorsements that I spoke of, but just one diploma, not the 3 that have been done in the past with potential distinctions and endorsements. Is that helpful?
That is helpful.
Okay.
And then the other is we have lots of folks in the community
Okay.
who I know there's requirements down the line, but there's lots of little smaller pilot things or after school things you can do. I've shared that there's and other trustees have shared there's Earn Your Leisure, who are actually very famous millionaires that came up through the district that developed their own financial, advisement. And they're always giving back. They would love to give back to this district. And they do, I think, have like a middle school curriculum that they work with. If we are required to do it in 27, 28, even having an after school program with a local community-based group would be helpful. When you talk about climate-based stuff, I mean, I know, don't want to throw you out there, Mr. Holger,
Oh.
family has a business or had a business that's around climate, based education. So just having, even if it's a pilot, like I said, after school or extracurricular thing that you could start to pilot it to see the interest of our kids, what type of things work for them and what don't before it's required. And then you have to implement something that could be helpful. And I don't know what other experts there are in our community that might be willing to help participate.
And then I would say that, yes, I actually learned of Earn Your Leisure, was able actually to speak with a community member through one of the trustees, just around what is available and who is available to what it's even as little as just coming in as guest speakers to enhance units and enhance the learning experience. So we definitely are looking into that. I think where we are right now is making sure that we understand what the expectations are from the state so we know what the topics are. And to be clear, next year we have to be very explicit about personal finance next year for our 6 to 8 grade band and our 9 to 12. So personal finance has to be visible. So with that, that's the conversation we're having now to make sure that when we receive the information from the state by March, we're in a good place. And that's the conversations we're having now. But everything you said, definitely beginning to have those conversations. And I think avenues like this, where we're able to communicate what's coming around in the pipeline, coming down the pipe, it allows what you just said to happen, where I get to hear who else in the community is there that can connect with us.
Yeah, maybe you can get Mr. Who. I don't know if you guys still have the.
I don't have the business anymore, but I have the expertise.
They have the experts. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello, if I may.
Wait, let him finish talking.
I just,
Sure.
I don't know if you're aware of it. I have approached teachers and I have approached actually Mr. Warner here, Trustee Warner, I should say. I'm sorry, David. That I would love to, if it's an after-school program, after-school activity, with teachers and with students to document the climate change on this property. This is a unique property that no other school in Westchester, probably not even in New York State, has this much land. And monitoring the vegetation on this and the animals on this can really create a baseline that only universities do otherwise. And I think it would be very, very helpful for the school, actually, even if it's just 10 students or 5 students a year, they do this and create a database of what they're seeing, what they're documenting, and over the decades, you'll see the changes. That would be, I'd love to do that, but I have not found any interest from the teachers whatsoever.
Well, it could be, if you can, what would be great to have, which is what I'm doing now, is just having conversations. So even with the community member that I had conversation and their connections, they're helping build a repository list of those individuals that they know and what they can do. If you would, I would love to have a conversation with you to set up a meeting. And Trustee Warner, I don't know if you can give my number, my email. We can set up to have conversation, because I've been wondering also let me not go in, but there's a lot of wonderings when you see the pond, you see yeah, there's a lot of wonderings and conversations about what was and what is now and the why. These are part of being an IB learner. This is part of the profile. This is what we're looking for students to do, to question. So yes, please. I can't see you, so I don't know what you look like very well. But if you can, I know I have your name though, to look for your name via email.
Okay.
Dr. Njoku, Samantha, Sam Ives. I am always mindful in this committee of where we can bridge the communication from the district out and from the community in. There's often a bit of a gulf, and I'm identifying that I am following you on the change from Regents to the one diploma around Portrait of a Graduate, because I am one of those people who dives deep into NYSCD newsletters and follows them down rabbit holes. And I know that I am unique in that. And I grew up not in New York with a single diploma in an IB school with that overlay and the baccalaureate experience on top of that. So I understand what you're saying. And I am mindful of my own challenges explaining those things to other parents and to my neighbors and to other taxpayers. And I'm going to advocate that all of the work that we're going to do to follow NYSC through this transition and consider bringing in our own certificates to go on top of this new diploma and what the Portrait of a Graduate looks like and how it aligns with ours. The communication of that may require some very, very mindful conversation of what exactly we have now. What are multiple diplomas? What is the one? What is IB? We're not walking away from it. What does it look like if there's only one diploma, but now you have an IB diploma? I think this is stuff that I have spent years reading about, and I don't expect anyone in the community to get it right away. So I just want to advocate from this committee's position that we be really, really, really diligent about those conversations and expect that no one in the room understands the complexities of this, because it gets a little bit mind numbing for those of us who come into it from the outside. It's a heavy lift. You usually do an extremely good job communicating all of this, but even in just this conversation, I'm already hearing it a little bit. So I want to be mindful.
I also want to just, because you gave me this opportunity right now, just to make also something clear, because people are hearing that the assessments are not required. The regents are not going to be required for a diploma. That is correct, but the regents aren't leaving. So they are still, so what I've been trying to help people understand is it's going to be similar to the 3 to 8 ELA assessments that are not required for promotion, right? But they're still used and expected. They're still used for accountability, meaning to identify schools and school districts that might need support from the state, because federally we have to identify the lowest 5%, et cetera. So there still needs to be a measure. So those regents are still going to happen. They're still going to expect it to be given as of right now, similar to the ELA math science assessments. Does that make sense? Just because I know that's a big question out there.
It does, and it also begs the question, and again, these are long-term conversations over the next few years, but then that begs the question of, if we're going to be doing this Regents assessment along with everybody else, do we also need to test? Do we have to have the iReady? Do we have to double test the kids? At what point do we, how do we know that we are using the most effective assessment and not taking away from class time to do it? I mean, this is a kind of an ongoing dialogue, right? Always, but I think I can foresee this conversation going in some interesting directions that I want to advocate that we're mindful of, especially as our seat in this committee.
And we need you all to be able to communicate that, because this is, thank you. Yes.
Is that, did you wish to speak?
I just stick to my phone.
Okay. Okay. All right. Are there any questions? Okay, so it sounds like, stay tuned, there's going to be more on this topic coming up. And how quickly is this developing?
All of it is developing, so we're expecting some information in March around the progressions as it speaks to the personal finance expectations. We have the topics on the state website. They have all the Q&As for now. It's not supposed to be scary. It's just that the state wants to make sure that it's clear in their portrait of a graduate that this is a quality or an attribute that we want our graduates to have, and that it's seen in some level at the elementary, middle, and high school. So the development is continuous. People should stop by the education committee, but I will also try and give updates as much as I can in terms of the phases, because there are phases, and the phase we're in right now is installation phase.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right, so I have a little blurb about the budget to read, and is Shonda Merrill still here?
I'm still here.
Okay, I can read it, or you can read it, or you can listen to me and tell me anything I've left out or needs a correction. Here we go.
I'll speak to it if you want.
Do it.
Okay. So on January 27th, we had a budget preview presentation. If anybody is interested in going back to look at that, it is listed on our district webpage under the budget tab. I will be building out that page on the district website. I'm looking to add additional items to it, such as possibly a one-page budget summary, a budget Q&A sheet. Different things will be added as we go throughout the budget season. I do want to mention that there is an email. If anybody has any questions, they're free to email. It is budget@greenburghcsd.org. I do also want to mention that the next presentation will be on February 24th at the Board of Ed meeting, which I believe is at the Woodlands Middle High School. And a couple other important dates on March 10th, the superintendent will be presenting a draft budget to the Board of Education. And on April 21st, the Board of Education will be adopting our 26-27 budget. Does anybody have any questions for me?
So I received a lot of feedback about the budget presentation at the last board meeting, and that there was nothing on the tax cap, explaining what the tax cap is, looking at how you guys are looking at the tax cap, etc. So is it possible to make sure that that's in the next budget presentation? I mean,
Absolutely.
I know Dr. Trisman, I don't know what you guys have planned for it, but that's a big deal in the community, and right?
Yes.
Okay. So I just want
I
to
will
make
make sure. Yeah, I'll make sure it's added, and maybe I can also like a simpler way for people to understand what the tax cap is. Maybe we could put a little blurb on our budget page. I'll work with Jackie on that.
Okay. Other questions? I just want to show that we've got on our Google Drive, we've got a copy of the budget presentation that was given to the last board meeting.
This one. Is that state of schools?
No.
Here it is, budget preview.
Yeah, click. Okay, so run through and go, yes, cute kids. And the vision, mission, the mapping of our goals to our strategic plan. There's the numbers from last year's budget. To kind of get 3-report budget. Here's what we know and don't know, and what we have to do in order to get to the next stage. Next page there. And there are all the dates for all of the presentations. Have any been added since this was put together?
Not yet. I'm working on adding one with the library. I think there might be a conflict though. I was looking at March 4th, and I believe there's a facilities committee meeting that night. So March 11th is already taken. So I'm trying to find another date.
Are there any weekend dates on there? We have a lot of families that work like 2 jobs, some of our families into the evening, maybe somewhere on a weekend where kids go for extracurriculars, the adults can get some information. I see on Tuesdays, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah, they're mostly a lot of these correspond to our board meetings. Honestly, I'm flexible, I'm open. I would probably need somebody to recommend to me where a good location would be if I was to do something on the weekends.
Or even if you're Zoom, I mean, I don't want to.
I mean, the library is great because you can have your kids look at books, okay, at the same time.
So Bailey's PTA, we have reserved the March 14th. It's a Saturday. It's Pi Day. 3-1. Yeah, we've reserved Bailey to have it. We're going to move our meeting over to that date. I'm just throwing it out there that we've already reserved it. If you're
What
looking-
time on March 14th?
So right now, I mean, I have reserved from 2 to 4 is my recollection. Purposely after lunchtime, before dinner, so we don't have to feed people more than light snacks. But if it means that you could have, we're calling a meeting and we're going to have the gymnasium. I think we're going to have some people to watch kids in the gymnasium. I doubt the weather's going to be great, but who knows? For them to use the playground. I mean, if anything, please just don't try and conflict with that. But also, I throw it out there as
interact.
Yeah,
I would never conflict with it, but if you guys would like me to come to your meeting, I could always do a quick presentation at your meeting, and we could advertise it.
And then that way we might get more people. On a Saturday, we're trying it. For a first time, we're trying to make some family fun days for our families, and that means trying to make the buildings to be that locus for the community, and for you to have a budget talk there at that time seems like a useful add-on.
Do you want to build a snowman?
Okay, I can't see who is actually speaking. Could you just give me your name?
So I'm Amy Geddes. I'm the president of the RJB PTA. So the email is rjbpta@gmail.com.
Is it okay if I email you tomorrow and we'll set it up?
Sounds like a plan.
All right, thank you so much.
That's great, and understand that the next meeting of the CEC is a combined meeting of the Finance Committee, and we will be going over the budget. So if you don't do anything else, come here.
And that's at Bailey as well. Bailey.
Yes.
Happening flexible.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. Is that March 11th?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Okay. Moving on. Sample recent events. We just wanted to take a look at two in the interest of time. The state of the schools. Attendance. So attendance grew from about 20 people at the beginning of the meeting to maybe 30 by the time we really got going. It included members of the PTA, the community, civic association leaders, staff, Senator Cousins, Assemblywoman Shimsky, and the head of the GTF. Right. So we had a good mix. I think a representative sample. We probably need to grow it future years. The way it was organized. We had Tracy and I gave an intro to the superintendent. The superintendent went over her vision and mission, and she mapped the strategic plan goals. There's 5 of them to her SOAR pillars, student achievement, all that. And then we had 3 people. Dr. Njoka was one of them. Give highlights and next steps and curriculum and what team I'm working with. And so I guess it was a curriculum, and then the business and HR, and parallel structure, right? So we got a sense of what was going on in leadership, and then we had so what now what. So the second half we went back to the anchor person, Dr. Chisholm, kind of said, okay, here are our goals for the second half of the year. And then she talked a little bit about portrait of a graduate and how that mapped to the IB learner profile. And then they had a QR code, and then we had some Q&A, and some people stood up and talked. And so the question is, now that it's happened, what were the strengths and the weaknesses? So far I've heard strengths. The presentation was content rich, succinct, good intro to the super and the staff. And I'm wondering what other people think. And the issues are that there were problems with the sound quality, and the Q&A trying to have it in the lobby where it wasn't recorded versus some people wanted to speak, and got the microphone, and the people that wanted the microphone prevailed. And what other people think about this. So does anybody want to volunteer and tell me what they think was good about it and what needs improvement? Okay. So,
I mean, I can speak. I thought it was a great event. I thought it was great, intro. I would have liked more people there. I definitely would have liked to see more of our staff there. Definitely the sound was an issue. I got multiple comments from people, and not just this event, but why we don't do test runs before events. So I don't know if you want to give that feedback. I didn't hear anything about Q&A in the auditorium versus the lobby, but I'm hoping that, I don't know, I didn't speak to Dr. Chisholm, but I'm hoping that she can do another state of the schools maybe toward the end of the year, or I'm not sure when that would fall.
Or do it have it as an annual event.
For an annual event.
So I think that most of the feedback I got from other people, as a board member, kind of my job is to walk around going, hey, how'd you feel about it? What'd you think? And you just draw people out, and pretty much everybody was really impressed. They felt like there's a lot of serious thought going into making things better at the nuts and bolts level. You could kind of see it in the number of bullet points you were looking at to begin with. So there was happiness and joy. Okay, people people wanted to see what the superintendent, she did all this listening at the beginning, right? And it's like, okay, so what's going to happen? So it appears that she's working on it, and that the whole team is working on it. So there was relief and happiness, and that's what I got most out of it. And then the sound, people were disgusted that I looked at it online, and apparently, I guess the microphone is directional or something. So you could see the HR guy clapping silently, and there'd be some distorted sound. And so it's like, oh, are we lacking some equipment? But I checked I checked and found that all the equipment that's used for our plays is our equipment, with the exception of last year. They ran out of microphones for your caller, and so they rented some. But we have enough to cover that event. And if we look at the R.J. Bailey Winter Concert that happened, right? It's in the same venue, and we're listening with equipment that we own, and it was okay. So I think we've got the equipment. We just need to make sure that it's deployed. I don't know. How did you feel?
Speaking for the district, yeah, we just need to be more aware and make sure that it is deployed. Yes, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I do. The presentation was very, very strong. I really appreciate the thought that went into the flow and the storytelling and the graphics and how well it was all presented. It was a very, very strong evening, stronger than I've seen in years. And the PowerPoints were beautiful. I couldn't see most of them. I don't know how they looked for people at home, but if we had test run and figured out how we could make it a little bit bigger on that screen, I think a lot of the tech issues, out of AV issues, we just needed to test run it. I was strongly bothered that there was no Spanish component to any of it. Every single community event, I have mentioned to somebody, or it's been publicly mentioned, that it's not that hard to put up a link, put up a QR code, invite people, even if people watching at home can translate on their own captions. If you invite them to in Spanish. It goes a long way toward community building. We have too big of a Spanish speaking population not to at least make an overture.
Okay. And just to prove the sound thing, I got this down. Spanish, make an overture. Let's go to the R.J. Bailey Winter Concert because it's getting late. So there should be a YouTube link in the agenda that goes directly to the concert. Okay, it does YouTube. Okay, and go to 2440 on the time. Okay, go ahead.
2440. I don't know if the
Yeah, that's fine. Can you crank it up? You good with the applause? Here.
sorry.
Let me close it, close this.
What I can do is I can show like the schools.
Okay.
What are we listening for? We're
Listening for the sound quality.
Sound
Okay, so
quality.
I saw we had a camera probably up on the balcony, which allowed us to look at individual people, right? And you remember you had to, like, to get an audience shot, you had to turn the thing and then you no longer had the microphone that was, right?
One second. Sorry, one second. See if I can attach this. Please stop sharing.
Share up here. You get the idea? Well, by the way, they're pretty good.
I actually got very good.
Okay, and the whole that whole section of the concert was like that. Okay. Yes. So I think we can with a little effort get everything corrected with the equipment we've done. Okay. Next on our agenda, we've got upcoming events. World Read Aloud Day, there were 80 plus volunteer readers. Is that total still accurate? Dr. Njoku? Yes?
Approximately, yeah.
Okay, cool. On the evening, if you're around, if you've gone and read to the kids and signed up for that, there's also our Art and Power. There's a sculptor named Minnie Bagwell who is doing a lecture at the Greenburgh Public Library at 7 p.m. She's a Woodlands alumni and she's a WISE alumni, and she's a self-taught artist. So she used her WISE knowledge to go to various people and say, "Would you be my mentor?" And they go, "What? What's a mentor?" And then she would describe what she did in her WISE project. And she made a whole career out of this, of being able to get exactly what knowledge she needs to be successful. So, if you've seen the Ella Fitzgerald statue in Yonkers, there's a Sojourner Truth statue on the west bank of the Hudson. There's right. She's done a number of very classic looking sculptures in her career, and so it might be worthwhile hearing what she has to say. Let's say that.
In Irvington.
Okay, and there was one graduate school. Okay. 2-6, the Education Committee. Do you want to say anything about Education Committee CPSE to CSE transition? Do you want to say anything, Dr. Njoku?
No, but just to come out, please.
Okay, there's a Facilities Committee on that Thursday, and you can probably read just about everything else. So I will highlight that on March 12th is STEAM Night, an IB Visual Arts exhibit from 6 to 7:30 p.m. at Woodlands. So that's.
Do you want to add with that one that came from feedback? So last year when we had the STEAM Night, there was that same day during the day was the IB Visual Arts. And from the feedback, we decided to make sure that people who go to the STEAM Night can also see the exhibition of our students. So that's a result. So thank you all who provided feedback on that.
Good. Facility status. The stage lighting project for Woodlands Auditorium is on schedule, which means it's just about done. The water main is kind of part of it. We're going to pass a resolution to try and get the piping hookup at the Pinewood Gate, and we're still working things out with the Stone Oaks Conduit Co-op Center in terms of the other hookup. We're working on scheduling the science lab upgrades and the Leah Jackson and Highview roof replacements a little later on in the year. The energy performance contract switchgear will be hooked up during the winter break, so they'll turn off the power, and afterwards that should work. And then organizing alumni. I think the one new event is the last bullet. Those interested in starting an alumni organization may provide contact information at tinyurl.com/woodlandshsalumni. So we're gathering our own information on who may wish to join up. Outreach and on parents. We've got Read Across America and Read Around. We've got the Read Around the World, and we've got Read Across America in a month from now. So if you missed the deadline for Read Around the World, we'll find out what for Read Across America. Woodlands Middle High School and R.J. Bailey musicals, The Lightning Thief this year, Percy Jackson. The art shows are upcoming. The fitness center, tennis courts, and track. We're working on working out how to get the tennis court access to other non-students. TA planning meetings. If you look just at the chart, scroll. I think we've got 2 openings left, right? We've done the right. So this is Angela and Greaves did WISE today. Then we've got the budget meeting, and then the art show on 4:30, and then we've got the Theater Young Community Center in Woodlands, are the two remaining dates. So if we can figure out what we want to see, that would be interesting. Think about that for next time. Okay, and let's do, the Nettie Jackson Extra Mile Award. Nettie Jackson was an activist, a beloved student mentor for about 20 years after she retired from being the Lee F. Jackson secretary. And she passed away, and we renamed our Extra Mile Award after her. And the award honors the community and staff for going the extra mile to help students. So if you know of anybody you've seen, if it's a member of staff or a teacher, it's got to be something above and beyond what's in their job description. If it's a community member, everything is above and beyond their job description. So think about honoring them. So everything you need to do to honor the person is on the website under About Board of Education, Nettie Jackson Extra Mile Award. All the rules are there, and a form for writing a 1-paragraph description of why you think they deserve the award. And then we'll try and get it in by June. We'll set up a committee of judges, and then at our June 16th board meeting, we present the award. So that's pretty much it at the moment. Does anybody have any questions?
Is there a deadline for the Nettie Jackson applications or?
Usually the beginning of June, because we want to get the.
Oh, it does, sorry.
There's a little turnaround time to get the link printed and stick on the front of the award.
She might need more time than 16 days to get the
Decisions.
Yeah, I think we gotta change that.
Okay.
It's the decision, and then we have to get the names to her, and she has to order the thing.
Longer. Okay, so I will.
That's only 2
I have an earlier deadline so that they can still be presented on the 16th,
So you think May?
like mid-May maybe?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll double check. Ask Patricia how long. Were you fast? Okay. All right, fair enough. The minutes, the last 2 pages in your packet.
I move that we approve minutes.
Wait, let's get the minute. Can you bring up the minutes?
Sorry, I forgot about her.
Yes, and I'm trying hard to work on that. So look carefully at that list and tell me if I misspelled anybody's name.
Not mine.
Yeah. Amy Yisar, Barrios, not Barrios, okay. Chisholm, Mans, Nicole, Shamika Maturin. Does Donnell have an L, have 1 L or 2?
Hold that out?
Yeah.
I don't know, that's a good question. How come my name's not there? How's there?
Okay,
Did you forget about?
Tracy, Maris, anybody else appear to be left out?
December 15th.
December 15th.
I came in on that day too, David. I wasn't there in the beginning. I came halfway through.
Nicole's name is NicoleGonnell.
LL.
So the double L goes on the last name.
First name and she
Yeah.
goes.
Okay. Johnson. Okay, so Kelly Ross Johnson, Tracy Maris, and Nicole Donnell. All right, so do I have a motion to adopt the minutes as amended? Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have minutes. Okay. All right, so then
The way.
at this point, I'm open the floor. Anybody have anything it's a burning issue that I need to bring up? Hearing none. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned.
Thank you ever sign the door. We're gonna settle.
I don't.
Good night.
Bye, have a
Good.
good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Emotional orange once.